There, Dave Paulides, Can-Am Missing Project. Copyrighted edition for our video channel. Huck's in the room. She's going to be monitoring the activity here today. She had a great Christmas. She's all excited. Look at her. She's huffing and puffing. She's a good doggy. Yes, oh, so pretty. So pretty. One thing about Pyrenees, their hair is so soft. And they love being scratched and loved on, and they're loyal, really loyal. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Okay. See, she knows when her job is done. Okay. So I'll let her out. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Good girl. All right. So I'm here for missing persons truckers case. Truckers event number 13. Can you believe we've gotten to 13? It's amazing. This one's going to be a little different. Quite a bit different, as a matter of fact. When I think about these cases, my mind races. It goes a million miles an hour. I'm thinking about everything I've read. I thought about things that have happened to me. And it runs the gamut. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to think. What's happening here? What's going on? Etc. Well, like I've always said, I'm a mile wide and an inch deep. I have a lot of interests, but I'm not super deep in any of them. But I know a lot. Now the first case, I want to get into it right away. Just first of all, I hope you had a good Christmas. I thought about you guys on Christmas because I know you were thinking about me and Ben and the family. So anyhow, case involves a woman. Well, son of a gun, a female trucker. How weird is that? Well, we've actually dealt with all males up until today. This is a woman named Sheila Kay Ross, 47 years old. She went missing January 27th, 2007. Not that old of a case. And she went missing at 9:30 p.m. Question, what's the optimum time according to Missing 411 you go missing? I heard it in the back, 4 p.m. That's right. Now she was a trucker and she drove with her husband in a big rig. They own the rig. They resided in McLeod, Oklahoma. Well, on January 27th at about 9 o'clock, her and her husband arrived at the Dole. That's Sheila. Her and her husband arrived at the Dole shipping facility in Yuma, Arizona. It's a big place. And trucks going and coming at all hours of the day and night. Predominantly produce that comes out of there. And you have to have a refrigerated rig in order to pick up things to take them cross country. And remember one thing I've always said about truckers. Everything you get in that store that you go to every other day, everything comes by truck. Without truckers, we are screwed. Next time you see one, say something nice. Man or woman, whatever. Be nice to them. So, Mr. and Mrs. Ross arrive in Yuma, Arizona, pull into the Dole facility, and they're getting loaded for their trip. And they're just about ready to leave. And at 9:30, Sheila says, hey, I'll get out of the truck to get the paperwork. You got to carry paperwork, show what you're carrying, where you're going, when you left. It all counts towards driving time. And truckers can only drive a certain amount of hours a day and a week. So at 9:30, they needed the paperwork. Sheila gets out of the rig and walks towards the office and the loading docks for the facility. Well, it should only take 5, 10, 15 minutes max. Husband's starting to get nervous. By 10:30, he's out of his rig and he's going to the office, goes to the ladies' room, starts to search the facility. Where's my wife? Well, they search the management offices, bathrooms. They search the facility quickly. They don't find anything. Mr. Ross is definitely scared. His wife would never leave him. They were partners for life, partners in the truck. So Mr. Ross calls Yuma, Arizona police at 11:45 that night, reporting a suspicious disappearance. Just after midnight, Yuma officer arrives, interviews the husband, Mr. Ross, and he explains what I just said. Wife's never walked away. We didn't get in a beef. We don't have any argument. We're partners. We stay together every day. This is beyond weird. Officer agrees. He walks over to the management office and he meets with Dole management. They said, yeah, Mr. Ross came by. We searched the bathrooms, searched the area. So they ask him, hey, can we search your truck? He says, sure. They search the truck. They find her things in the back of the truck where they sleep. Everything seems normal, except she's not there. So the officer requests a list of all the trucks that left the Dole facility that night after 9:30. And then the officer requests more units, and they start to do a massive search of the Dole facility. Search goes on for a long time. Big facility, lots of places to hide, lots of places to get hurt, but they don't find anything. So the officer decides to get Dole management to call every truck that had left that facility from 9:30. And now it's 1:30 in the morning, 4 hours have elapsed. A lot of trucks. And the facility says, yeah, for sure. And tell them that they all need to stop and search their truck right now. Inside, out, backwards, frontwards, front bumper, everything. Officer says, yeah, we can do that. So they get going on it. And they eventually call every one of those trucks that left, and there was several. All of them complied, reported back, didn't find anything. So now you're the investigator. What are you going to do? Well, you have the trucks that left. That's one way to leave and not be seen. The other option is she's on the ground somewhere. Okay. So maybe you're thinking someone at the Dole facility abducted her, killed her, raped her, or whatever. Yeah, possible, for sure. What I would do, I would get the names of all the trucking companies that left after 9:30, the names of all the drivers, a copy of their driver's license, and start running names. And you're looking for sexual assault, you're looking for sexual registrants, you're looking for anything. You're looking for a needle in the haystack. Then the other thing you got to do, same thing to the Dole facility. Everyone who was within reach of Sheila has to be checked. Well, after they did a thorough check of the facility with Mr. Ross with them part of that time, there was no place else to search. They essentially had given up. They don't, and I'm sure in the back of the officer's mind, they're thinking, well, maybe Sheila just left him. But they had nothing. Everything of hers was in the truck. She didn't carry anything with her. So they call a search off for that night. Now, Mr. Ross has to drive away in that truck alone. And he's with Sheila 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. How weird would that be? So there's no new activity on this case for 4 days. Now remember, I told you at the beginning here, I want you to start thinking about other cases and things I've talked to you about over the years and how this might be related. Well, 4 days later, January 31st, 2023, at the McVee Distribution Center, Trucking Distribution Center in Chariton, Iowa. A truck that had left Yuma was now arriving at Chariton. This is the part I want you to pay attention to. So it left Yuma, went through Phoenix, then up through Gallup, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, went through some of the biggest UFO hotspots in the world. And then it ends up in Iowa. A definite hotspot for truckers' disappearances. Maybe it's all a coincidence, right? You believe in coincidences? Okay, maybe it is. So this truck that left Yuma, and it left that Yuma facility the night of January 27th at 10:50 p.m. It was a truck owned by R&J Trucking. The driver, the night of the incident, actually early morning when he was told to stop, he told investigators he stopped, got out, went into the back of his load and searched. Didn't see anything. Keep that in your mind. Now that stop notification he took seriously, and he did say he personally did it. His truck was carrying pallets of lettuce. So he backed the trailer into the McVee docks, unlocked the doors, and forklift drivers for McVee started to unload. Driver stepped aside. Several minutes later, he hears some yelling and screaming, runs over, and one of the forklift drivers pulling out a pallet of lettuce has a woman's body fall on the bed of his truck. He runs over and he says, "This has got to be the woman they were looking for. It's got to be. But she wasn't there when I looked." So they immediately call Yuma police, and they call the coroner for Chariton, Iowa, and they call the police. Police quickly determined that the body was Sheila's. Coroner stated that she died from suffocation. The police stated first that they had no idea how she got onto that truck, really into the trailer. Then several days later, they made another statement. Remember the statement that Detective Gannon from New York Police Department got famous? I made him famous for saying it. Local reports for local consumption. The police stated that they thought she was walking behind the truck, forklift and pallet didn't see her, hit her hard, knocked her onto the top of the lettuce. As they were loading, they pushed it in as far as they could next to the next pallet, suffocating and eventually killing her. Well, that's a convenient explanation. So it's 2007. Nearly every loading dock you can imagine has closed-circuit TV. But Sheila wasn't picked up on closed-circuit TV there. They didn't have any closed-circuit TV of this accident. Now, if the forklift driver had hit her, then him pushing her into the next load, when he dropped the pallet down, he would have had to have seen her, right? You'd think so. And if after you load pallets after a while, I did for a while. I actually worked for Libby in Sunnyvale, fruit cocktail company. I was an inspector there when I was in college. I drove forklifts every once in a while. And when you drive a forklift and you push a pallet into one another, when it has a load on it, you know approximately how much distance there is. Yeah, you do. And that distance that the pallets have, hello there, the distance the pallets have there, you get to be a pretty good judge. If you put a body in between, all of a sudden the pallets aren't real close to each other anymore. And you would know that. But nobody on the loading dock, the trucker himself, never knew anything happened. So now they're in Chariton, Iowa. And they have a body. And the police first statement was they have no idea how that body got on that truck. Remember this, in all news that you read, the first bit of news information that comes out is always the most honest. And then the story starts to spin. As it did here, as they searched for some plausible argument that they could sell. Oh yeah, she just got hit by the pallet when it was coming on. Well, this is a woman that worked around truckers and pallets her whole life. Pretty hard one to swallow for me, I'm sorry. I don't believe it. The other thing I wish I had was the time of death. Now, if the death was 4.5 days ago, that would kind of make it more plausible that maybe it happened in Yuma. But they withheld that part of the statement for some reason. And we're left with the unknown about how this accident really happened. Now, what I thought about when I heard this, first of all, I have no doubt she was squashed down in between there somehow. I have no doubt. But The Hunt for Skinwalker, the book by George Knapp and Colin Kelleher. I've stated before, it's one of the top 10 books I ever read. When there's a story about the ranchers that lived there before Mr. Bigelow bought it. And the story goes, it was about the time that researchers started to get onto the property. April 2nd, 1997, at the ranch. The owners walked by 4 prized bulls, thousands of pounds each, that were in a corral. Now, if you've never been around a bull, trying to lead them around, you could just almost forget it. Very hard to do. And you get 4 of them in a corral, getting them to do anything, very hard to do. And you're taking your own life in your hands. Well, husband and wife passed the bulls in this corral. And it was their prized possessions because that's what they used to fertilize other cows. Made a lot of money off that. 45 minutes later, they come back and the wife looks, corral's empty. Now, they've already had a lot of strange things happen at the ranch, and the wife knows that is their future, those bulls. She screams at her husband. He comes over. Starts searching around. They don't find anything. The only thing nearby that could hide anything like that is a very old trailer that wasn't used anymore. There are cobwebs on the back door of the trailer, and there was barbed wire through the lock on the front that they would enter in, that neither one of them had ever touched in months. The husband walks around the side of the trailer and he looks in, and there's this 4 bulls lined up next to each other, stuffed in there like sardines. And he said they're not moving. He said it was like they were mesmerized. He couldn't believe it. He'd never seen his bulls act like this. They were just hypnotized, not moving. And then he said he kicked the side of the trailer and it woke them up, and all of a sudden they went crazy, as bulls would do. And they ended up kicking out the side of the trailer and getting out eventually. That's how tough these bulls are. Remember, missing 411, the UFO connection. Do you remember when the man I described that was hunting for elk that got abducted by the UFOs? Just before he got abducted, he lined up on several elk. He said they never moved. And then he got on the craft. The elk were on the craft, and it was like they were frozen in time, kind of like the bulls. Well, those bulls stuffed inside that trailer kind of reminded me of Sheila. She was just stuffed inside salad fixings. I have deep compassion for what Mr. Ross went through. And I don't claim to know what happened. But I am telling you, something weird really happened. Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to talk about the missing cases to date. Missing cases that I've told you about so far today. I mean, going through 13 sessions. What can we glean from that? On the back of every one of my Missing 411 books, I do something just like this. But I usually do it with 150 cases, maybe. Now this time we have a very small select group of truckers. I'm guessing there's probably hundreds more that we don't know about. But of those that we've got so far, I'm pretty sure it's a cross section. So let's look at the months. We got 2 in January, 1 in February, 2 in March, 2 in April, 3 in May, none in June. Let's stop there. Rather than thinking, why are there so much 1 month? I'm thinking, why aren't there any in June? What is it about June? July 1, August 2, September 2, October, none. Why none in October? And then the $1 million question. Why are there 6 in November? Well, let's see. November is kind of the month where things start to get cold. It's fall. Seasons are changing. But why November? Think about that. Now, let's think about missing by year. So we have one case, 30, 34, 37, 40, 48, 50, 55, 56, 59, 60, 65, and then almost 19 years with no cases. 84, 1. Then you think about what happened between 65 and 84 that might have accounted for none of these cases. 1 in 87, 1 in 92, 1 in 94, 2 in 95. 1 in Arizona, 1 in Iowa. 1 in 2000. And isn't that special? The Arizona-Iowa connection. 1 in 2003, 1 in 2005, 2007, 2012, 2019. And 1 this year, David Schwartz. So, let's go over here. Missing by age. When I was involved in the DNA study for Bigfoot, talked to a geneticist about what's the best age where your DNA is the cleanest. And it's always when you're young. So when I say young, Well, for fertility purposes, you're really thinking standard cases, 16 to 24 would be men that were optimum fertile and had clean DNA. Well, 22, we have one person that goes missing. 24, we have 3. 48, we have 3. 35 years old, we have 2. 1 at 61 years old, 54, 2 and 53, and 2 and 52. I think this cluster down here between 47 and 53 is interesting because there's 2 of every year that we've identified. But how many age brackets there have none? I mean, 23, 0, 25, 26, 0, 29, 30, 0, 32, 0, 35 through 40, 0. 40 through 47, 0. Oddities. And that's what makes research interesting to me. Oddities like this. And then we have the countries that we've identified cases in. US, Canada, Australia. Now, first of all, those are the top countries for missing people under the missing 411 profile as well. So that's pretty weird, I think. Now, other countries, the UK, France, didn't get any cases out of there. Could be a language issue. Germany, we should have some, but we don't. Africa, we have some of the 411s, but none identified here. Spain, we have some, but none identified here. And then 2 cities that I think one of those is really strange, and that's Indianapolis. 2 specific cases attached to Indianapolis. The LA connection, I kind of signed that off because there's such a number of truckers that go through that LA basin every day. Just by a numbers side of it, you have to have something like this happening. Indianapolis, I don't know. That's weird. And then 22 males and 1 female. And that 1 female was the one today I talked to you about. Now, what I'd like you to do, moving forward, we're going to have one more episode about this. Kind of the culmination of work that will explain some things. At least in my mind it does. But I would like you to just keep your eyes and ears open. I've had a lot of people lately, hundreds of you, write in and send me stories about missing people. 99.9% of everyone who sent in one, I've already done a video about it. Now, I'm grateful that you're sending in the articles. Trust me, I am. It's a lot of work to go through them all, and it's frustrating to finally figure out, yeah, we did that case. Or that case is in the books. But, especially if you're out of the country, and you know of something that matches our profile, canine search, can't find anybody, no scent trail, no tracks, weather event in close proximity to the disappearance, person found in water under unusual circumstances, missing trucker, found the truck, can't find them, something along those lines, send it to me. Emails canam, like Canadian American, canammissing@yahoo.com. I hope by the time you watch this that I've got this YouTube issue somewhat settled. I was able to ramp this up through YouTube, and it's in front of some, I think, important people at YouTube about why my comments are getting restricted. Not my comments, why your comments are getting restricted. I have no idea why. But it's obvious to everybody something happened. And then I also upped the ante on people being unsubscribed, because by now I have thousands of people who have been unsubscribed, and then others of you who are never getting notifications when my videos come out. Something odd is happening. I've ramped it up to YouTube. I still haven't heard anything. When I do, I'm going to talk to you about it. But I hope they have a good excuse, and I hope it's cured. In the meantime, I'm very grateful for you being here. Thank you. I do my best to come up with research that follows what we've been doing and is unusual. I read all the time, people say, oh yeah, Paulides' work isn't unusual. Yeah, all of it can be explained. Oh really? Nobody wants to debate me about this. They just want to throw hate out there. But that's okay, because I know you guys have my back, and I really appreciate that. So, I would be grateful if you shared this with your followers out there on social media. We're still trying to get our numbers up, and in the meantime, it's a tough time of the year for a lot of people who are alone. So maybe go and donate your time to a charity kitchen, old person's home, go make a visit, do something friendly. In the meantime, thanks again. Huck says off, arf, Paulides out.